Hey, what's up, everybody? So, today I want to talk a little bit about isolation. So, I don't specifically mean, COVID lockdown type of isolation. What I mean is more of an inner isolation. And this could look like a wide range of things. When we think of isolation, we might just go to the extreme and think about the person who isolates themselves in their room all day and doesn't go out, doesn't go into public, doesn't talk to anyone all day, and just really locks themselves down. Okay, and that's an extreme when we think about isolation. But there's a wide spectrum of isolation, like I said. So when I talk about these things, you may want to ask yourself the question, have I been isolating myself? Have I been isolating parts of myself? Okay? Because isolation can also look like isolating your emotions, pushing them down and not sharing them with other people. Isolation can look like not sharing your ideas and your thoughts and putting them out to the world. Isolation can look like not following through on your dreams and never really creating that life that you want. Or it could look like not expressing your voice and isolating your voice, or simply not asking for help when you know that you need help. Okay? So that might bring up something for you that you maybe have never thought about. And ask these aspects of isolation that kind of go unnoticed. But when we don't feel safe to share our emotions, when we don't feel safe to feel our emotions, when we don't feel safe to speak up or to share our ideas with the world, or put ourselves out into the world, or feel safe to ask for help, then we begin to isolate. And this can only make the issue a little more severe, okay? So I want to go a little deeper into this and use a little example from my life so that you can really see how this manifests, okay? So I've told stories before about when I was younger, around 12, 13 years old, and when I first moved up to Washington State. And I was going through a really tough period of my life, feeling really depressed, going through a lot of changes in my life, moving into a whole different city, and not really feeling like I could relate to people, feeling alienated, feeling just really different, and really just kind of feeling rejected and lonely. And I was having this conversation with my brother the other day, and I was kind of explaining to him how I felt during this time, and how I used to spend all my time in my room in the basement, in the dark dungeon, as it was called sometimes, and I really felt lonely, and I wasn't expressing this to anyone. And he was surprised when I was telling him this story. He was like, I didn't know that. Like, that whole time, I didn't know that. I didn't realize that. And I don't think anyone else realized that. I don't think the rest of the family did. And I was like, yeah, that's truly how I felt, but I didn't share it with you guys. I didn't share it with anybody. So I was isolating myself, this inner isolation, but also the extreme, like I talked about earlier, the physical isolation of literally spending most of my time alone in the basement, really feeling lonely, feeling depressed, and not knowing how to get out of it. And, during these times, it made it more difficult because I wasn't sharing, because I wasn't expressing these things, because I didn't want to ask for help. I didn't want to burden anybody. So this is an example where not only where you're isolating physically, locking yourself down and feeling locked down, but that's because there's this inner isolation, and this happens for many reasons. There's a lot of experiences and situations and trauma and stuff that comes up in our lives that cause us to start to shut down and to start to isolate and to start to not express or not to share these parts of ourselves, or to isolate just parts of ourselves and only share other parts of ourselves with the world. And this can affect us in major ways. This can affect our physical health. This can affect our mental health, and of course our emotional health, and really just our energy as a person. And that's why a lot of times during this isolation comes depression, comes anxiety, comes frustration and anger and all these things that come up. So with that said, with all of that said, ask yourself, have I been isolating? Have I been isolating in an extreme way, or maybe just in a subtle way? Have I been isolating parts of myself from myself? And have I been isolating parts of myself and not sharing them with other people? But there's parts that I know that I want to share, with the people I care about, the people I love, but I also want to put out into the world. And if that's not happening, then there might be some of this isolation. And it sometimes is really hard to see, okay? But if you are someone who is recognizing that, yeah, man, I've been isolating and I've been isolating for too long, but you're ready to come out of hiding. You're ready to come into the light of your being. Then the first step is whether or not you start to reach out to someone else, or someone you care about, someone in your family, and just start kind of expressing that this is the way you feel and make sure it's a safe space. Then that's a good first step. But if you want to take it further, then send me a message, leave me a comment below, and let's have a little conversation about this, okay? Because this is a lot of the work that I do in my program, Expression Evolved, okay? This is a big part of it, of coming out of hiding, coming out of isolation, little by little, getting your body, getting your nervous system back on track with these things, so that little by little you can start to feel safe in situations that you never felt safe in before. And you start stretching yourself just little by little, step by step through the process, retraining your nervous system, retraining your whole body to feel safe in experiences that you've never felt safe in. And then when you do that, all of a sudden, without even trying, you feel safe to express these things. You feel safe to share your thoughts and your feelings with other people. You feel safe to talk about them more publicly, more openly, and then you start to open up. Your heart starts to open up. Your voice that you never knew was there before starts to come out. Okay, these are all the things that have happened to me through this process. And I'm so grateful for it. But it doesn't have to take you as long as it's taken me. This has been, really a lifelong journey, and it is, and it still always will be for all of us. But, I didn't reach out for help. I wanted to do it all on my own. And I thought I could do it all on my own, and to some extent, I did. Some of the healing did happen on my own, but really it still wasn't on my own. It was through the help of, other resources. But eventually it came to the time where it's like, man, I need to connect more deeply with someone who has been there before, coaches, mentors, and that's when I decided to go that route. And that's when I really was able to start feeling safe and really start opening up. Okay, so if this is something you can relate to, and you're really ready to move in that direction and start opening up, start coming out of hiding, start bringing that light into all the things that you're doing, and start sharing these things with the rest of the world and the people you care about, improving your relationships, improving your physical health, improving your mental health, improving your emotional well-being, then like I said, reach out, send me a message, just leave me a comment, leave me a comment in the comments below, and we can start having that conversation and seeing if we are, a good fit to work together. See if this program is right for you. Okay? As always, thanks for being here. Thanks for watching, and you guys have a great day, and I'll see you next time.